Welcome back to our series where we get to know some of the Equus coaches trained by the Center for Equus Coaching. But if you're new to hearing about this work, you might be asking, what is Equus coaching? Well, I often describe it as an experiential, embodied, and relational approach to learning that helps someone explore the gap between where they are currently and where they'd like to be in their life. All of that facilitated by horses and certified life coaches. My guess, however, is the coaches you meet through these conversations will help make this even clearer as they share about their work, the benefits their clients are seeing, and how their amazing horse partners are helping in the process. My name is Travis Stock, and I've been an Equus coach since 2013, and I'm one of the instructors for the Center for Equus Coaching. The next coach joining me is my good friend, TJ Killoran, who is a certified Equus Coaching Master Facilitator and owner of Apache Springs Ranch in Sonoita, Arizona. Something that stands out about her work that I'm excited to talk with her about is the equine facilitated work she's doing with veterans. More on that in a bit. But let me first just say thanks for joining me, TJ.
Hey, thanks for having me, Travis.
TJ has a beautiful ranch just outside of Tucson, Arizona, in Sonoita, Arizona. And I grew up in Tucson, so it's always a fun time when I get to come back to TJ's ranch and see the beauty of the desert and get to experience my own hometown from a very different perspective, being able to see it on a horse ranch, because horses didn't come into my life until I was well through my graduate program and starting to learn how to do this work. So thanks for always holding a great space for me to come back to when I go home.
Oh, it's always so nice to have you there.
So one of the ways I like to start these conversations is just to learn about how you got into this work. So how did you find out about the Center for Equus Coaching?
Hmm. Well, I had actually started with Linda Kohana from the way
Mm,
back, and not really a training, but had gone to a few of her workshops and had decided that this is what I wanted to do. I absolutely fell in love with the work. And then I happened to be in bed one night, and at midnight, I couldn't sleep, but I grabbed the Oprah magazine from way back. We're going
mhm,
2013.
uh-huh.
Grabbed it, and I saw an article in there, Martha Beck and Joelle Simpson doing the Equus coaching. And it was immediate. I didn't really give it even any thought. I just emailed the number that they had on there and kind of started it from there. So it was a weird kind of, serendipitous event, actually. I wasn't searching for it. But what I did find with that, the one that stood out to me with her article was it seemed very practical. It seemed
Mm,
like it would suit the masses. Whereas what I had been doing was a little bit more trauma-based stuff. And
mhm.
this one was, this really spoke to me, that there was some actual practical coaching in it.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks for differentiating what you were doing with Linda's work versus what you started to find in the work that we're doing here at the Center for Equus Coaching. Fun story is that was right around the time I was getting involved in Equus coaching and learning it. And my silhouette is in one of the pictures in that magazine. That's my claim to fame. Is the first
Oh.
picture has my silhouette with a horse in it.
I don't think I kept the magazine, but I wish I had have.
Darn it. I got one in my filing cabinet just
Oh,
to point out my celebrity status with being in O Magazine.
that's amazing. That's pretty good.
So you were already clearly drawn to this, to working with horses and working with people in some ways. Why are horses important to you in the way that you like to be with other people?
I did have a horse growing up, just one. And then I dabbled in it throughout my early life, before university, before all those things. I lived in Alberta, where it's very much horse country. So I did have experience with some horses there. But I think experiencing Linda's work and then actually doing the coaching, the horses were more a direct line for me for my own well-being.
Mm,
um, I'm an animal lover anyway, and they intrigued me and they also scared me. And I took it on sort of as a challenge, like these amazing animals. So partly it was the animal lover in me, and partly it was the need for growth or want for growth, I
mm.
guess.
I think that's
Well,
a common experience people have with horses. They're both intrigued by them. I mean, it's crazy to think about how our species have sort of evolved together over time, over tens of thousands of years, and like horses allowed people to explore a larger range of physical distance a long time ago, and helped in farming and stuff. And so we've developed as a species for over a long time. So there's like this natural intrigue with them, but there's also this like, that's a big animal. Oh,
Yes. Yes.
oh, healthy dose of respect. Oh, that's scary. Yeah.
Yes, and even though I'd ridden them as a kid, and it was like trail riding and horsemanship classes for 2 weeks in the summer and those kind of fun things, this whole concept of being on the ground and being on neutral space, it was like, ooh, that's a whole different experience.
How did you move through that sort of fear that there was for you in terms of being face to face with the animal?
I guess I just kept returning and showing up,
Mm,
like, kept
mhm,
trying new things. It was a real pull. Like, I just kept doing it, I guess, because I think with these animals, it's a matter of being around them and
mhm,
finding some familiarity, some safety, and so I just went in very titrated little steps, and I just kept anything that showed up that I could go to that involved horses, I would go, and
mhm,
then through the Equus coaching, I think having the breaks between actual coaching human to human and then going in with the horse and then coming back out and being human. It was a little bit of like, it wasn't all immersive, like, here's your horsemanship experience all at once, and you have to learn everything at once. So I think I think my fear gradually subsided, I guess, just over time.
yeah, and I think what I've heard some feedback from people is that horses feel really unpredictable to them, and yet once you spend a little time observing them and watching them and interacting with them, you can see their kind of patterns in their behavior. It's just about getting to understand their language that is sometimes
Mhm.
feels a little like a little daunting. But that's something that we like to teach at the Center for Equus Coaching is like, what are some of the patterns or habits that horses go through? How do they communicate through their physical language since they don't have the verbal language piece that we as humans have? And so I think people can sometimes think they're unpredictable and that's part of what creates the fear, but just being around them, you'll start to notice that they are quite predictable. They have quite a lot of patterns that they will move through. It just is about building that language within yourself.
Yeah, and I think with the Equus coaching, you're with other people, so you get to witness or like I'd watch other people's interactions. You're watching your instructors, you're watching the horses. You start to go, oh, maybe what's right in front of me isn't as scary as what I imagined it was. And so
Mhm.
you just sort of take it one step at a time, and you can't you can't deny that there's some excellent communication and connection going on when you're watching it. And I think it pulls you towards, oh, I could do that. I could be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I think people might be picking up on you based on some of the words you've been using that you're kind of a lifelong learner and you like to try out lots of different things with the horses. Specifically to equus coaching, going through the course, the standard equus coaching course that we offer, and then the master facilitator program that we offer. What's a key learning or something that sticks out to you that you took away from equus coaching and your sort of development that happened for you as a person?
Um, well, I'm naturally introverted and quite
Uh-huh.
shy. Um, but somehow being with the horses, it gave me like a partnership. Like this animal was my partner. So I wasn't alone in the actual coaching. So I would say, like some keywords would be bravery,
Mm,
bravery, learning to be assertive and not
mm,
aggressive. Assertion was a thing because I was always okay with I can make myself small and I can be quiet and I can be gentle, but the assertion without the high influx of like aggression, like it from 0 to 100, the nuance of becoming assertive and standing
mm,
in my own power. Because with these animals, you don't really have a choice. If you want something to happen, you can't disappear. You have to show
right.
up. So I would say showing up, bravery, um, and then on the flip side of that, it's also the compassion and the like just witnessing another living being and understanding that that animal could be as scared as you are. And I
Mm,
think that was one really important session I had. I think it was might have been master coach session where a very high energized nervous animal. I was terrified, but it wasn't until I think the coach was saying to me, "Well, wait a minute, you could be the one that regulates him." And that was like
Mm.
a new concept to me, like, wow, like I could do that for this big thing. That's amazing. And so to learn that you actually have um, some kind of agency over your interactions and your relationships. So all of those, I mean, I could go on that. We could do a whole podcast on just that. All the things that I've learned, I mean, it's endless
I
actually.
That's the cool part about our work is it is endless and we can keep learning, and it's not just like I go and learn the one thing and that's all I can get from horses. It shows up differently every time. But these things like bravery, assertiveness, being able to like take up space and say what you mean and say what you're feeling, compassion, those sound like such important skill sets for our current world that we live in right now. There's so much uncertainty we're living through, and there's a lot of fear for a lot of people, and this ability to be assertive, this ability to be step forward into bravery when you're feeling scared, this recognition that you have some agency in your relationships. You can create that. We can bring some settling to our relationships. We can repair things when they get kind of crazy. We can be assertive and brave to say what we mean to people and not just kind of shrink away. Like those feel like really important skills that are kind of meeting the moment for what our current life is as humans.
Yes, I think it
Yeah.
would be a very useful tool if I could get every single person in the round pen. It would be
Uh-huh.
good.
Oh,
On
100%.
both ends of the spectrum, right? Like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I mean, and even if we think we're compassionate and we're all these things, we can be that, but when you're actually in with a horse, the real you shows up, and there's a lot of learning that can happen in what you thought you were by just having an experienced coach watching you and sharing that interaction and being able to feed back to you what's
Mm,
actually showing up physically, maybe not in your words, but physically what's showing up. So it's a very cool way of um, learning. I mean, when I work with the veterans, I often they've often said back to me that 10 minutes in a round pen was worth like 2 years in the therapist office.
mhm.
Just how quickly things are shown in real time.
Yeah, it's crazy. I hear that feedback all the time. That's like, this is like a year or 2 worth of therapy that I just had in this one moment. Like, whoa, that's crazy. And I think that comes down to the fact that our work, unlike traditional talk therapy, is very embodied. You're in your body working with a big animal. You're in a relationship that's actively playing out, and you're experiencing new things and experimenting with new things. It's not just all up here. It's actually
Exactly.
experience the learning. You're
Yeah.
already kind of touching on this, and I shared in the beginning my kind of working definition of Equus coaching. Do you have a working definition that you kind of like to use so that people can better understand what we even are doing as Equus coaches?
Yes, that is the famous question, isn't it? How to
Uh-huh.
describe this work because it's very powerful but difficult to put into
This is why
words.
I'm asking
Um,
every single person I
yes.
talk to, what's your
And
definition? Because I'm
and
like, wait, how do we put words to this?
well, mine's a little nuanced because of the work
Okay.
that I do, but I was thinking that for me, I would say if I was telling a veteran for the first time, I would say something along the lines of, "You're gonna go into a training session with a 1,000-pound feeling machine,
Mm,
and you're gonna be witnessed to what shows up." And someone on the outside is just going to help you interpret what's going on with both nervous systems. You have two mammals in there, you, the animal, and it's not going to have any story around it. It's just going to be all emotion, like not emotion, but all sensation.
mm,
And so I think just trying to put it into the perspective of these animals are feeling machines, like they feel and everything. And so just that we can never fully get that with a human.
mhm.
And so these sensitive beings, I don't know. I mean, it's just another thing would be the real time experience, the immediate present moment. Like there is no thinking about the future or thinking about the past when you have something standing a foot away from you, breathing on you. And this goes for people who've never been around horses. If you've been around horses, it may be a little bit different experience, but for the
Yeah.
most part, working with someone who's never been with an animal like this, it's a very powerful interaction.
They do ask from us a level of presence that most of us don't experience in our lives. Most of us are spending our whole day worrying about something in the past or worrying about something in the future. But when you're next to 1,000 to 1,200 pound animal, it's like, oh, I'm right here. Right
Yeah.
here in this moment.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Understood.
And I think that carries on, like as long as you whether you're a coach or you're a client, if you're the coach, that happens every single time you
Mhm.
enter
Mhm.
the round pen. It
Yeah.
doesn't just happen once and, "Oh, I got this," and then but it is a moment by moment experience.
Yeah, that's a really good definition that you use. I really liked hearing it the way you describe it. And there's a nuance in there that I wanted to just kind of highlight, which is that you said something about with humans we never really get there, but with horses we get to sort of like it's all based in feeling. Horses don't have the part of their brain that creates story like ours as humans. It doesn't think in language, it doesn't tell a story about what's happening. It feels and responds and feels and responds and feels and responds. The part of that brain, the sort of like prefrontal cortex abstract thought part of human brains that we've developed, which is a gift of ours, but also a curse, also gets
Mhm.
in our way all the
Yes.
time because we're telling stories about what's happening. They're just kind of really in reality feeling and responding and feeling and responding. And so that's what's cool about the feedback you get from a horse is that it's not judgmental. It's not a story they're telling about you. It's not critical. It's not judgmental. It's just, I feel this and I do this. I feel this and I do this. It's a
Mhm.
little more simple and clear, the feedback we can get that you're right. We can't quite get with humans because we know humans can tell a story, can have an agenda, can want things from us. So that's something that I'm glad you pointed that out because it's something that I think is really important and why I think all of us are drawn to working with horses because it's just a little cleaner, a little clearer.
I think
Yeah.
the word that while you were speaking, the word that came to mind is honest.
Mhm.
It's so pure and it's
Yeah.
very honest, and in this crazy world that we're in, and we all need protection. We all need, to have our armor ready if we need it, all those things. But this is very pure. Like it just
Mhm.
feels, yeah. I don't really know. I think you can get there with a human, but I think that this is like a quick road to be
Uh-huh.
able to,
Shortcut.
"Oh, that is possible." Yeah, that's what I was
Uh-huh.
thinking, a shortcut.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's possible, and then you have a touchstone to go, "Oh, if I can do this with a horse, at least I know what it feels like. I could
Mm,
possibly do this with a human outside of there."
mhm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So you own a ranch called Apache Springs Ranch in Sonoita, Arizona. Tell me, like, you bought that at some point while you were in your training, is that right? Was that happening
I
while you
bought it
were
just prior. In fact, early 2013. And I
Okay,
think I came to Equus, later
got
that
it.
year. That was partly why when I saw the Oprah magazine article, I was like, "Oh, this will be good for me. Like,
Yeah.
this will be good. If I'm gonna actually use this ranch for what it's meant to be, then I need to have lots of education around this."
Got it. So you had the space and then it was sort of like, okay, how do I use this space? And this was like a
Mhm.
good way. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So what was your original vision for your ranch? And then how has that evolved over time?
Um Well, the original vision was I did get attracted to the work for sure. So
Mhm.
I got here. My very willing husband jumped into this crazy plan with me. And I wanted to do this work, the Equus coaching. But I also recognized that this land is sort of like a very special to me, it's like a healing place, and
It
I
really
wanted
is
to
special.
yeah, it has some kind of special energy to it, and I wanted to be able to have people who could afford to come and people who could afford to have coaching and all those things, but I remember standing on the hill before we'd even bought it and with my husband and saying, "But this can't just be for that. This has to be open to other people. This has to be open to people who can't necessarily afford it but need it, because
Yeah.
this place is too valuable to just keep to, a certain group of people. It has to be open." So that didn't all happen all at once. It very much evolved over the course of time, and that is what led us to partnering with the veterans with the
Hmm.
nonprofit because that program is fully funded 100%. And everybody who comes here doesn't spend a dime. And
Yeah,
so
so
it's,
there's an organization that partners with you on your ranch and takes over and they bring veterans in to do veterans sort of well, describe that work for me. Describe the organization and what the work is that they're doing on your property.
okay, well, it's Boulder Crest Organization. It's an on-site 7-day program for combat veterans. So it's not just
Mhm.
open, it's not open to just it's actual combat veterans for PTSD. But what we have termed it is for PTSD, but our program is based around PTG, post traumatic growth. So
Mm,
we take most of these guys have either been unsuccessful with suicide attempts or
mm,
have just been very lost and have tried everything possible through the VA, through every other source. And this is their sort of last resort. So they come to the program and they get a 7-day on-site with, I think there's like 60 modules or something, where we teach them wellness practices. And they are in a group of 8 and they share things they've never shared before. They have a team of guys that they feel safe with. And then the horse piece is one of those days out of the 7. It's
mm,
just one because our idea behind the program is to just expose them to what's out there for healing and for therapies in other realms than what they've already had. So it's not about coming and having a 7-day horsemanship or
right.
Equus coaching session. It's about here, let's experience this and see if this might be an avenue that you
Mm,
could learn from. So that it's kind of it's good because most of them have not, although it's becoming more and more, people are aware of Equus coaching more and more often now. So it's
mhm,
becoming more, I often get a guy in each group that says, oh, I have done some equine therapy before. But a lot of them then choose to go either take that and further their therapy in it, or
yeah.
they actually just want to be around horses and they go and work at a rescue or,
Mhm.
something to do with the animals.
I think that's really smart because not everybody is going to find healing and support in the same pathway. Like some people it's horses, some people have done psychedelics, some people it's therapy, some people it's there's so many different formats out there and I think that to try to value one over the other isn't really the point. It's like let's give exposure to lots of different things that can help transform someone's life. The
Yeah.
work you're doing sounds so rewarding with where people are at such a low point and likely due to the trauma they've experienced in combat, the things that
Mhm.
they've either had to do or seen or witnessed or experienced next to people or had happened to them. How rewarding to be able to help those people find a way to safely be in the world again, to
Mhm.
find their way back in. Because I can imagine once you've experienced that, the rest of the world feels a little like, how do I even fit back into this?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And the interesting part about veterans that kinda ties into the general public, um, that applies to Equus coaching for anyone, is that a lot of these guys, we would say between 80 and 90% have had early childhood trauma. So
Wow.
that's how they got in the military in the first place. So it kind of exposes them to a way of being in the world, I guess, that they have not had any exposure to, even from small children. So it's not all around combat, even though they get here because of combat. But once they're here, they realize, oh, maybe this started a long time ago.
No, that's really powerful to hear, and it's such a important aspect of anybody that's doing work around trauma. Is trauma is cyclical, and it does create more trauma over time. And I learned that in my work before becoming a coach. I was an investigator for Child Protective Services, and I
Hmm.
could see that it really wasn't about the moment I came into their life due to abuse or neglect. It was like all the things of poverty and drug use and mental illness and all the things that had happened throughout like generations of stuff that led to those moments that I would get in people's lives. And it's hard because not everything is set up to actually really take into account the long-term effects of trauma and how how it just keeps stacking up on itself like that.
Yeah. And what's cool about, well, the day that I get them kind of on day 4, where they've been
Yeah.
through a lot of really hard stuff already and a lot of sharing, a lot of exposing. And then the day before, we do what we call My Old Story, where they
Mhm.
go through almost a genealogy of, grandparents, parents, children. And then they see where they came from. But the idea is not to go back and go, like I'm blaming those people. I want to
I'm
get
gonna
at it.
blame my
It's
mom and
like,
my
yeah,
grandma. Yeah.
exactly. So it's kind of cool because that night we burn those. And then when I get them the
Mhm.
next day with the horses, the idea is, who do you want to be now?
Uh,
What do you want to do when you walk out to this living being that you're going to work with? Who do you want to show up as? What's it going to look like? What would it feel like if you could, if that story, it's always going to be part of you, but now it's somewhere off to the side. You
Hmm.
get a whole new chance at trying. So they get an experiential day of trying out a new you. And it's kind of cool. So I love my part of it because, I sit through the whole program and offer some of the other modules, but my part is very uplifting. It's very,
Hmm.
we're not looking backwards. We're looking forwards. And the
That
horses are just so fun to do that with.
that's such an important key element to point out about coaching in general, but Equus coaching, how we handle things is that therapy can a little bit be focused on the past. What are the experiences that shaped you, that you learned certain things, any traumas that are unresolved in your past? But coaching is a bit more present and future focused. Who are you now and where are you going? And you get to try on something new. So I can imagine like your day being really uplifting in that whole element of being able to try on something new. Who are you and where do you want to go? Like that past is in the past and now where are you headed? And you get to really try
Yes.
that out. Can you think of any specific examples of sessions you've had with one of the veterans that come to mind that you could describe for us so we can get a little window into what is going on in those sessions?
Well, one group session, like I work with 8 guys at a time, usually 8 horses, 8 guys. And then when help permits, I then do individual round pen sessions with them.
Hmm.
But when I have them as a group, one thing we do is a form of body work, which we can get into later, but it's not that important. But there's an exercise that we do that is based in connection. Like the module that I teach is called connection. So we do a form of body work. And it's a very gentle, nuanced, slow paced attunement exercise with the horse. And each man has his own horse, and their rope is just thrown over their back. They're not even having to hold on to them. And if they follow the instructions and they do the body work as instructed, they see this attunement happening with the horse. And the horse knows that this person is got them in their sights, that it is actually seeing them, feeling them, watching them. And I will be out in the field with these big combat guys, like they're massive men, and there won't be a sound for a
Mm,
half an hour. It's silent and they're focused, they're watching, the horse is responding. And then when we're finished that, we come away and there's numerous things, but one of the most moving moments for me is when, and it almost happens every time, that they say they've never experienced being touched like that themselves from their
oof,
childhoods. They've never even known that that was a thing, that that was even possible. And their ability to actually cause peace in this horse, they're so empowered that no longer do they have to use force and be aggressive, but by gentleness and softness, there's often tears. They come away and they're like speechless because they didn't know that that was a way of being, that they
mm,
could, then we talk, where can we take this? What can you do outside of this arena? And they go back to their families like, oh, I could do this with my wife. Like I could listen, I could watch, I could respond, I could interact with her with the same level of patience and kindness that I am with this animal or my kids or at work. But I think most importantly, I always bring them back to, can you do this for yourself? Can you
yes.
treat yourself like this?
Hmm.
And then there's for sure tears. If I don't have tears, they have tears. Like
Well, I was
it's
going to
like
say I
that's
could
just
have
one
tears just
example.
listening to this.
That's just one example. And that's in a
That's
group. Like that's not even one on one. Like that's them. And I would say they share amongst each other and I always think, oh, are they going to talk? Because a lot of men are very quiet and they don't want to share, but they will give me 10 different examples of where they could take this and use
mhm.
it outside of the arena.
Wow, that's really powerful to hear. There's a way that I've kind of described it when people have asked, because I think some people have heard about veterans work with horses and sort of the wounded warrior programs that are out there. And one of the ways I describe this, and I'm coming from a bit of a layperson's experience. I'm not specialized in this. So correct me if there's anything that sounds wrong in this, but I always say that like someone with PTSD has had a nervous system that is kind of reacting to stress, reacting to trauma. And so their nervous system can be quite flighty based on past experiences and can be
Mhm.
really reactive. Well, horses are really reactive in their nervous system. They're kind of they're a flight animal, so they're flighty. And so there's something about going in and intertwining your nervous system with the nervous system of another flighty animal, learning to work with it in that animal, learn helps you learn how to work with it in yourself. Does that feel like kind of what you're talking about? Is like they're
Yes.
learning like that softness that comes from that helps them learn to hold that for themselves and in their relationships outside?
Exactly, and it's like regulation. They're learning to
Yeah.
regulate. They're learning to down regulate when they're because often they'll start, and even though they look fine, they're holding their breath, they're
Mhm.
tense, and then as the time goes by, they're breathing, they're softening, and they're immediately getting the feedback from the horse that, "Oh, the horse is doing the same. The horse's head is dropping, his eyes are closing." All the things that it's the co-regulation between the
Mhm.
species that is, it's very magical. But on the
Mm.
flip side of that, with veterans, they're used to doing things with high adrenaline and they want that.
Yeah.
And we can offer the same, like in a more regulated environment. When we do a group work like um, in the arena with the obstacles or doing a group kind of exercise that's fun and upregulated. But we always we're always bringing the horse in mind as to where is the horse at? Is that horse having fun or has it gone beyond fun and is it
Mhm.
now fear? And so then they get to witness, oh, yes, I like the feeling of being upregulated, but it doesn't have to go to extreme because I'm now interacting with a very sensitive being. So they kind of learn to have fun when both parties are having fun.
Wow, I can really see the power of that kind of learning. When you can see it on the external, you can learn how to bring it into the internal. That you
Yeah,
don't have to go all the way to that fully dysregulated place. You can be upregulated, but not dysregulated. That's
exactly.
really powerful. Thank you for sharing such vivid, like sort of examples of the work you're doing. It sounds really powerful, and I can see where that learning really exists. If people wanted to find out more about your Equus coaching, Apache Springs Ranch, the work that you're doing through Boulder Crest, how do they find out about that work?
Well, that's the part of my work that's not that great. I definitely could use a new social media person.
We're all
I do
figuring that part
I
out.
do have a website, that's just Apache Springs Ranch.com, and then Boulder Crest Foundation, if anyone does wish to look at it, I mean, it is very, very good program. It is
Uh,
like I would and it's not mine, I didn't develop it. We are just the host to the program, it's Boulder Crest organized, bouldercrest.org for
okay,
that,
great.
and then Apache Springs Ranch.
Thank you so much, TJ, for sharing your journey as an Equus coach, your own learnings, and then the learnings that you're offering and the work that you do with veterans. It sounds like really powerful and amazing work. So thanks for joining me and thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you, and thanks for being the instructor that taught it to us. So,
It was a
very
true
happy to
pleasure. It's
have
my
that.
favorite work. So I
Yes.
love that people show up and I get to do it. So thanks.
Yeah, me too. Thanks, Travis.